everyone. Welcome to Hashi Sisters podcast. I'm Shannon Garrett, autoimmune and thyroid wellness nurse specialist and certified nurse nutritionist. Today, my guest is Bridgit Danner. She is a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, licensed acupuncturist. She's the founder of the Women's Wellness Collaborative and producer of the Women's Hormone Summit. Welcome, Bridgit. It's so good to have you with us today.
Shannon, it's good to chat again.
Great. It seems like it was just yesterday that we last spoke.
It wasn't that long ago.
So I'm so glad you're with us today, Bridgit. Your health story is just so compelling, and what you've been able to do in your practice and working with women. I just wondered if you could share with us, for a minute about your personal health journey and, how you've put that forward into helping other women.
Sure. So, I was already working as an acupuncturist, and I was newly married and newly opening a clinic, a big clinic, and getting pregnant all at the same time. So that was
overachiever.
That was the beginning of my health crisis. Yeah. So, I was really in a lot of fear from my new business. I was in a lot of adrenal output for sure. Luckily, I was able to get pregnant pretty well. But I didn't have the best digestion and detoxification, I think, during pregnancy. And then afterwards, I had a hard postpartum period. I don't know, postpartum depression, I think a lot of us never really get diagnosed, but I think I had low progesterone. I had, who knows, maybe I had low thyroid and changing hormones, and I really needed to get some resources to help me out. I was already knowing things about health, but frankly not enough, or not enough rounding there. So I started having a coach. I started to get more into nutrition. I started to learn about functional medicine, and kind of got myself slowly, frankly, out of that depleted state. And then I really just felt strongly that I wanted to help other women because, I was in a really low place, and I felt like kind of alone or, lost. And yeah, I just came out of that, excited about some new tools I learned and really wanting to share those.
Oh, fantastic. So what do you see mostly in your practice and working with women as, some of the top concerns that they have, and how does acupuncture, help those issues?
Yeah, so I've really done a broad spectrum of work within Chinese medicine. I mean, I didn't specialize in working with women initially for many years, and even when I started to specialize more with women, I still had male clients.
Okay.
But as I came out of that health crisis, I actually briefly worked with women I wanted to work with kind of business women and help them have a healthy life. So that was a very brief period of my life. I had one client, I think. And then I started working with a business coach, and we kind of came to working with fertility because it's a strong need for people. It's something I had some experience with and done some research on myself. So I spent a few years really focusing on fertility, and that was really super interesting. And I'm not sort of done with that chapter of my life. But I also kind of hit a point where I wanted to expand out from that. The trouble with being too much of a specialist sometimes is you get people in that one phase, and you're like, get me out of this phase, get me pregnant. Then I won't see you anymore.
Right.
But really, we need to know about our hormones, throughout our life as women. They're always changing. So I decided to take a step back and do more hormone education, from, I wouldn't say I work with a few teenagers, but for younger women, through perimenopause, educating through that whole period. So done a lot of work with fertility, and what comes along with that is, cycle problems, PCOS, advanced maternal age and pregnancy, and yeah, worked with some other kind of side things like acne, anxiety, depression, just, kind of whatever came through the door as an acupuncturist. And now I'm working as more of an educator online.
Oh, that's great. I mean, we need more people like you for sure. I know that you mentioned hormone balance in younger women, and that's interesting because, I do see most of my clients are, 35 and up, but I have seen some younger women, 18, 20, 21, and I've always been so shocked to see that sometimes their hormone levels are of that of a, postmenopausal woman. And what would you say to that? I mean, is it the environment, the toxins, diet? What would you say? Because it seems to be a strange, happening.
So you seeing hormone levels be much lower than you suspect? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I know, Dr. Dan Kalish talks about that a lot. And I think a lot of it we talk about with younger women are under like a lot of pressure now, not to say they weren't before, but, academically and with sports and, socially and, maybe they're working and going to college. It's all those lifestyle stressors can certainly like depress sex hormones in a younger woman, just like they would in an older woman. And then, environmentally, sure. I mean, it could be environmental stressors or genetic factors, gut stuff. I think younger women are a little more resilient than older women when it comes to those things. But they could very well be like burning the candle at both ends quite a bit.
Sure. And just under a lot of peer pressure and trying to get in the right school and, be as smart as your friends and your husband and do everything, have babies, have a business, it's just a lot.
Yeah.
So, I work with a lot of women who have Hashimoto's, and as myself, I have Hashimoto's, and I've always used acupuncture for my own self-care, and it's been so beneficial. Really has been one of my key interventions in coping and feeling better. I know there are some studies that, have looked at acupuncture for Hashimoto's and say it's very beneficial. How could that be? I work with clients, and I that's at the top of my list is, self-care. Let's get some acupuncture on board. I don't know if it resonates, why acupuncture would be beneficial. What would you say about that issue?
Yeah, and I'd love to hear, too, more about your experience with it. But, acupuncture is working with you in the moment, like keeping that, like, dynamic homeostasis. And I would imagine with Hashimoto's, so many changing factors, like, did you eat something that kind of flared you up this day? Or did you not get a good night's sleep this night? Or it's just little, are you having your period? So many little things that could be coming into play in how you feel that day. And your acupuncturist can kind of read your body, read your systems, and see what needs to be adjusted. So really it's just like an energy system of, okay, what energy needs to be increased, when energy needs to be smoothed out. But beyond energy, it does work with the hormonal system. It moves blood and lymph, lowers cortisol, which can have a really powerful effect on the rest of our hormones, can help balance the endocrine system and help the communication between, the ovaries and the brain. So I think, it's not the easiest to explain, but it is powerful. I often just tell people, you just got to have it a few times and then you'll kind of get it, because it's one of those things like that you can't fully explain until you have it.
I know. It's like after my second, treatment, I was hooked, and then
cool.
I try to do acupuncture every week. Now, what can I say to women who ask me, Shannon, what do I look for in a licensed acupuncturist? How do I choose? How do I know, who I'm going to? What would you say to that?
Well, honestly, I think anybody who's a licensed acupuncturist, they have a lot of training.
Okay.
So I don't think you have to worry that you're going to end up with somebody who just completely doesn't know what they're doing. And then some of it is just, personality and are you attracted to their office and their website and does it feel like the right fit? And then some of it could be a little bit more about approach. Like there are some acupuncturists who are very Chinese, really into like the traditional medicine. They're going to make you a specialty herb formula. And then there's others, like I started to become more interested in functional medicine and nutrition and nutritional supplements. Mm-hmm. So it sort of depends, what you want. There's also, I don't know about in your area, but in our area, there's community acupuncture where, if you don't have insurance or you're on a budget, you can go for, a cheaper session of acupuncture in like a little group room. Nobody's really going to be unqualified, so to speak, but it's just a matter of like, what's the right fit for you.
Preference. Okay. So as I was sort of looking at your website, so I came across something really interesting that I wanted to touch on, and that's that you see women with impaired confidence. And I thought, well, that's really interesting because, I talked to a Chinese medicine practitioner once who said that, there is a view that Hashimoto's develops in women so commonly, often because we felt as a little girl we had a lack of voice, and this is where our voice comes from, and coincidentally, this is what the immune system is attacking, this area. And I thought, well, that kind of goes with impaired confidence, and how does that... How does that work? Like,
yeah, it's funny because I was like, I have that. I don't even know I have that on my website. Great. No, well, yeah. Now I kind of want to think about from a Chinese perspective. It's interesting. The throat has to do with the lung, but I wouldn't really say confidence has to do with the lung as much as gallbladder. Actually, like kind of having the gall to like do stuff and move forward. But lung can have to, the emotional lung is more like grief and sadness, actually. So, interesting. For the Chinese perspective, it could be a little bit about like letting go or like kind of grieving and like being able to kind of cry and let go of some things. Like sometimes I tell people, you just kind of like, you need to have a good cry. You really need to like connect with whatever that hurt is.
Yes.
Yeah, and then I was telling you before we talked, I read Jen Whitman's book, and she talks about the same issue with the Hashimoto's and the voice, and it's definitely something, I can relate to. I was an Army brat as a child and grew up, kind of sitting back and trying to fit into every new place, probably not having a lot of voice, even though, I was observing and having my opinions, and yeah, I definitely grew up as one of those kind of good girls who was trying to fit in and really to be, a grown woman, a business owner, or you don't have to be a business owner, just, a mom or whatever you're doing in life. You do need to have a voice and know when to say like, that's not okay with me, or, that doesn't work for me. I've had a lot of hard lessons in that. I mean, I have 10 employees, so I've had to have a lot of
oh gosh. So you have to definitely use your voice, your authority, your opinion. And I agree. Sometimes it's hard for women to express that. And then when we get a diagnosis, of Hashimoto's and we're trying to communicate with our doctor, if it's difficult to speak about how we feel, our symptoms, and communicate those. Some women are uncomfortable doing that because it's such a mysterious diagnosis and often misdiagnosed, and they really fall back into that pattern, of their little girlhood of not feeling as though they have a voice, and they're just sort of being dragged around the medical system.
Oh,
and feeling frustrated. So I thought that was really compelling. So I know you have the Women's Hormone Summit that's coming up. Tell us a little bit about, what motivated you to organize that. I'm so pleased to have been, had the opportunity to speak as one of your guests. But tell us more about, what motivated you to put that together, because it's really great.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. I feel very fortunate with the experts we have. I've been trying to crack onto this online space slowly for a long time. Since my son, was little and I was telling you I was having this health crises, I was like, I really want to be online. I don't want to have the clinic. So I've just been chipping away at that. I had a couple small fertility summits some years ago and, have a podcast and, kind of doing the two-way, okay, I have my clinic, but I also am online. And this is sort of my coming out party where I'm like, I'm really online now and I'm dedicating. So I haven't worked in the clinic since mid-December. I'm just putting on this summit and yeah, so that's kind of my kind of some of my reasons for my passion, but also just going back to what I said earlier, like I think that I want women to know the tools that are out there and to understand their bodies better. And this won't be the last summit I do, but I think hormones was a good place to start because it's such a confusing topic and there's so much there. So
definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. There's still a lot I don't know, but I'm learning all the time. And I hope to tell people, look, it's not to overwhelm you. It's just to present you with options. And if you can get a few takeaways or, a few people you want to connect with after you hear the summit, then my mission was accomplished.
Oh, fantastic. Remind us again when the Women's Hormone Summit starts.
Yeah, it starts April 11th, 2016, and it runs for about a week, and we have 5 speakers a day, and then there's really a theme, so kind of teach you some of the foundations. I think you're on day 1 on there.
Oh, no pressure there.
Everyone will be watching. Then we move on to, what do we move on to next? Oh, specific conditions for 2 whole days. Then we do life stages. And then diet, lifestyle, and healing modalities. So organized hopefully pretty well, and I'm supplying some things like a little dictionary of terms. And
oh, fantastic.
We're doing some fun stuff. We'll do some implementation after the summit. So hopefully make it really useful for people.
Well, I'm looking forward to sharing it with my followers. I know they're going to love it. I'm asked so many questions all the time about hormones and what can I do for hormones, what should I eat, and like you said, there is a lot of confusion out there. With all this fantastic information that's on the internet also comes confusion. So I'm so happy you're going to clarify that through the use of these experts, featured experts. Tell us how my followers can find you. You said that you're into education now and that kind of thing and online. So how can they find you?
Yeah, I'm trying to be in more and more places. But first of all, use Shannon's link and sign up for the summit. We'd love for you to do that. But yeah, I'm making YouTube videos more regularly. I'm just started to be on Periscope more regularly, blogging and guest blogging at bridgitdanner.com. And then we have a weekly podcast called Women's Wellness Radio where we interview different people. It's like kind of a variety show where different people all the time talking about hormones or exercise or, nutrition, whatever they specialize in.
Oh, fantastic. Now, do you work with women online at all, like as a client online?
I did. It's interesting. I told you I stopped working in December, and for a while I was like, oh, this is great. And I'm just starting to be like, well, now maybe I could start to see clients. I saw a lot of clients. Like, I think I've given, over 12,000 treatments. So it was time for me to have a little break. But I'm starting to feel like, okay, well, maybe I can explore this again. So, yeah, we'll see.
Okay. Yeah, well, thank you for being with us today, Bridgit. I think this is great information, and I can't wait, as I said, to share the Women's Hormone Summit, and look forward to helping a lot of women.
Yeah, thank you, Shannon.
Okay, thank you. I'll see you soon.